There we go. Okay. So if you want to just, you can have your cameras on or off. It's totally up to you. So thank you everyone for joining. This is the Structure for Success webinar. Brad, I'm going to try and say your last name correctly because I keep practicing. Brad
Yeah,
Bodnarchuk.
you did so well. Yeah,
Yeah,
well done.
okay. So Brad's joining us with Half a Dozen Hospitality, and he is going to take us through a really fantastic webinar, Structure for Success, exactly what you would think based on the title. But he's going to go much more in depth there. And Brad, as we discussed, I'm just going to hand it right over to you and let you jump right in.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I will take this time to quickly say thank you, Natasha. Thank you, Gordon and Bengu as well for facilitating this. It is an absolute pleasure to speak to all of RAND's members, and I'm a big believer that time is the most valuable thing that we have. So thank you all so much for giving yours to this webinar here this morning. I'm going to do my best to make this something that you all can take at least something away from, something practical, whether it's into your business or into your life or both. And I also want to make this as interactive and permeable as possible. So if at any point you have questions or comments, I want you to feel comfortable to raise your hand or just speak up. So if anything comes up for you that you want to share or question, please feel free to do so. And with that, I'm going to share my screen and we will jump right in. And again, I want to say thank you to Natasha for being so on top of this and helping me execute this. So thanks again, Natasha, for all your help. So we are here this morning to talk about structure and how I believe, and I've come to this realization after being lucky enough to work alongside of my clients, but also experiencing this in my own life. Fully understanding that for success to be achieved, however you define it, in any aspect of our life or business, there must be some structure. And so many of us avoid structure. We get away with, or try to get away with, the idea of just starting our day with no plan or maybe a vague plan and just reacting. And I'm a firm believer that that is a success. I wouldn't say for, a structure, I wouldn't say for failure, but one that isn't going to allow us to achieve much growth. So today we're going to focus on how to establish structure, how to gain control, and therefore how to achieve more success. For those of you that don't know, again, my name is Brad Bodnarchuk. I am the president and lead consultant of Half a Dozen Hospitality, a company I started in Vancouver back in 2018. I have 20 years experience within hospitality. That has taken me from coast to coast in this beautiful country, and also overseas, where I worked for 2+ years in Europe, using London as a hub and traveling around, and what a beautiful experience that was. And I've had the pleasure, since launching my business, my consulting and coaching business in 2018, of working with clients all over our beautiful country, as well as down in the US, in Europe, and Australia as well. So just to give you an overview of what we'll be doing today and looking at, we'll be doing an introduction, pardon me, to what structure is, a brief summary of how and why structure works, in my opinion, that supports your success in business and in life. And then we're going to look at a tool that I created that was shared to me by a coach of mine that I worked with actually back in 2018 when I launched my business. It's going to be a breakdown of these machines, which is looking at your business and your life separately. We're going to break it down into categories to better understand the strengths and weaknesses that we are experiencing right now in our lives. And then the actual tool itself, so the practical tool, I'll introduce to you all. And Natasha, I failed to mention this to you, but I'd love to send you a PDF version of the actual tool so you can share it with the viewers today, and those that look at the video at a later date, they can also have access to that as well.
That's great.
And then we'll hold space at the end for any questions that you may have that perhaps you didn't feel comfortable or didn't feel inspired enough to during the actual presentation to ask. We will hold some space for that at the end. So we'll start with kind of an analogy, if you will. Um, so to get from where you are to where you want to be, we need a map. And your starting point is here, right now, today. This is our current reality. So in order to get to where you want to go, you need a set of directions, rules, guidelines, etc. Basically, structure. That's what we're going to define today for all of us. And what we're looking for is to experience some growth and evolution. Every every client that I have the pleasure of sitting down with is looking for some change, looking to change their current reality into a new reality. And I just define that as growth and evolution. So in business and in life, if we're looking to achieve anything substantial, we have to achieve what I call an intimate understanding of our current reality. And what that looks like is having a true conversation with ourselves and assessing, okay, how am I showing up as X? How am I showing up in this certain area of my life or my business? And having those tough conversations, both with ourselves and perhaps with our team as well, if it is appropriate. But what I find, and this is no fault to my clients or most of the general population that makes up our industry, and this isn't unique to hospitality, but I do see it more often than not in our space, is there are four things that contribute to why people don't want to get um, an intimate touch of what is currently true in their life. Is one, we've become a little bit soft. There's a great book called The Comfort Crisis, and I believe that we're in one currently uh, throughout the world. Like, we love comfort so much, and it's very difficult for us to look at the truth. But the truth is what we need to really expose and understand. So people ignore reality because the truth opposes what they want to be true, the expectations that they have, and this creates conflict. So no one really wants to sit down and have the tough conversations. Obviously, it's a general statement, um, but they just want to keep existing without having that mirror shone upon them and say, okay, am I actually showing up how I need to as a business owner, as a partner, parent, whatever the situation may be. Next is, I find that most people are just confused. Most people don't know what to do when the truth is revealed. So say, for example, I'm working with a client or we're working together and we understand that there's a gap in our sales and marketing. It's not being tended to. And once you expose that, that's the first step. But the next step is then, okay, well, what do we do? How do I fix it? How do I mend it? And the reality is a lot of people don't really know. They don't know the first step to take. That can be daunting and a lot of times creates no change at all because it seems like such a daunting task. The next one is fear. They don't believe they can consistently do what needs to be done to facilitate change. And I'll I'll use myself as an example with this. When it comes to certain aspects of my business or my life, I'll look for the truth. I will look at the steps that I feel I need to take to achieve a goal, and I don't have a full belief or a buy-in that I can consistently do those things. So what do? I just do nothing at all. And that may be true for you in certain aspects of your business or your life as well. But that's what I want to change with this tool and with more structure. And then the last one is they just lack structure. Their environments and relationships only serve to distract them, and there's no accountability. Again, I'll use myself as an example. It's so easy for me to do the busy work, and I see this again with a certain number of my clients. It's easy to do the things that we love to do. It's easy to do things that are easy to do, and because we're human, a lot of times we'll avoid the tougher things. And our environments and our relationships are set up to support that. There's no real push. There's no one, as Gordon said before we turn the record button on, nose to the grindstone. There is no one really keeping us honest or keeping us accountable in doing those things. So our environments and relationships aren't set up to support that. So what is the solution? The solution is make reality simple and easy to identify. So once we have a system of identifying what is true, meaning what's real in our life, we can simply use our plans and put ourselves in a place of power and momentum. Again, this is true in life and in business as well. So how do we
Always a
make
possibility.
pardon me, sorry? Sorry. So how do we make reality easier to identify? We just add structure. So what does that mean? It means having a clearly defined form, which I'll share with you guys today, for the different categories and areas in your life and business will allow you to see what is true, meaning, okay, what is real for me right now in this moment, and then create plans that are rooted in the reality. Structure, in my belief, breeds clarity. So this is no one I know. This is a picture off the internet, but this rings so true, and I hope this really helps to illustrate the current reality for a lot of us versus where we want to go. So most people claim they want to achieve the highest level of success, be it again in business or in life, but their minds, lives, careers, environments as well look something like this. It's cluttered, it's busy, it's easy to exist in this, but it's lacking structure. And because we lack the structure, it is my belief that it's holding us back. And I've had the pleasure of stepping into many an office within the hospitality space, and they always vary in size and location. But the majority of offices that I step into look something like this. It's just it right away to me speaks of a reactive reality. It doesn't speak of structure or proactivity. And then again, that's what I want to change with this tool and with the work that I do. So to systematically produce results, we need to value organization and clarity, which we spoke about, finding the truth of what's real today. In our mind, our lives, our career, ideally will begin to look like this, where is it going to be a 100% all the time, shoes and shirts ironed, put away nicely? No, but the idea is that we create structure enough so that when the wheels start to wobble or one falls off, we have enough structure built into our reality that we can get it back to this image and avoid going backwards to this. So, how do we achieve this? In order to accomplish this, we're going to organize our lives and careers according to themes, categories, and quote unquote machines. What I want us all to do here today and moving forward is thinking of our lives and careers in a way that's going to allow for us to create essentially an org chart, an organization chart. So when something comes into our lives, business, we're able to quickly identify it, put it in its appropriate spot, and move forward. So this will allow us to identify how things are going, our reality, very quickly. This is going to allow us to make changes and improvements much quicker. This is going to allow for us to organize and make use of information faster. And this is going to allow for us, lastly, to manage more areas of our lives and business well without sacrificing one area for another. So for as an example would be if someone has, and this is actually a client of mine, they have a machine within their life that they've labeled health. And then a sub-machine of that, meaning the actual actionable piece of that would be workouts, nutrition, sleep, maintenance. And I'm going to slow this down a bit and make sure we all understand practically what this looks like. And again, feel free to unmute yourself or raise a hand and type a question if you have one. But I'm going to go into very, I guess, a high level, like a macro and a micro here on what this actually looks like. So what I ask my clients to do within the very first few days of working together is create something like this. And this is actually an example, actually an example of one of my current clients. This is their life org chart, if you will. And hopefully you guys can all see this. And this is specific to them. And you guys individually would do this for yourselves as well within your life and within your business. So again, this is from one of my current clients. This is their life org chart. And you can see how they've broken their life out into machines. And that's the high level. So these are the pieces of this person's life that either move them forward or hold them back. So this person has decided that they're going to label machines like energy, mindset, time, God's an important piece for them. Then they have others as well. But we can just look at something like the um, energy machine, for example. Underneath the energy machine is workouts, nutrition, sleep, their chi, and their pliability. Again, to them, this all makes sense. To us, it could be a bit confusing, but to them, it makes sense. And I want to be crystal clear on this piece and how this tool works. And again, we're going to go through step by step how we get there. But the macro view is this. So they've identified that energy is a very key part of their life. Now they're identifying what pieces of the puzzle, if you will, what sub-machines make up that big piece. So for them, it's workouts, nutrition, sleep, etc. And those pieces become the pieces that we would add into our daily, weekly, or monthly schedule to allow for structure to exist. So I did one of these last month for a client of mine within the hospitality space. And to give you an idea of their machines, it was things like sales and marketing. It was things like HR. It was things like the environment, meaning their physical space. And then underneath that would be things like their lease, things like maintenance, all the small pieces that make up that big piece, which is their environment. And the reason we break out the sub-machines, the reason these sub-machines exist is because it is a call to action. Remember, these are actionable pieces that we can do to impact that big piece. So looking at sales and marketing, you'd have things like advertising, promotions. You get the idea here. And those things you would be placing in. I'm sure most of us by now have heard of time blocks. So you'd be placing in time blocks on certain days at certain times during certain weeks or months where you'd be actually actioning these things. You'll also notice in this example here, some of these things, say for example, under the under the energy machine, some of those things this person will be doing every single day. Some of those things this person may be doing once a week or once a month or once a quarter or once a year even. So that is also very key for us to identify when we've defined our machines and then we've worked on our sub-machines. We have to understand the frequency and the length at which we do it. Now that's going into even more detail, which I don't want to get too clouded here with all the details, but with the form that I'll share with you all, it will become more clear of how to get there. But the key piece here, and what I really want to drive home today as an idea, is we must get to this space. We must get to this space here in front of us with this piece, this machine tool within our life and in our business. We have to be able to clearly identify what pieces of our life and what pieces of our business are needing our attention. And when these things are failing, for lack of a better term, it's easy for us to go in and check why. So say, for example, we'll just stick with this one, then we'll move on. Say, for example, this client felt like their energy was low. Or say, for example, in a business example, say for example, say the sales numbers were down or our numbers were down. We could quickly go into the energy machine and look at all of the sub machines, or the sales and marketing machine, and look at all the sub machines and say, okay, when is the last time I worked out? How has my nutrition been? Have I been paying attention to my sleep? All of these things, and essentially you're checking in. That's the reality piece of, have I been doing this or have I not? And therein lies that part where we have to have those tough conversations with ourselves and say, am I actually doing what I say I want to do or know I need to do? And sometimes that's a tough conversation to have and a tough reality for a lot of us to swallow. But having this piece, having this tool developed, allows for us to be very, very clear on the vision and also clear on the action. We'll move on. After we've developed the machines of our business and our life and the sub machines, it's imperative to then identify the vitals. And what I mean by that, we can think of the vitals in our body, right? So our brains, our lungs, our kidneys, our hearts, all of these pieces, if one of them fails, that's going to make life and business very difficult for us to carry forward. So when you have taken the time to develop this piece, right, you've laid out your org chart for your business and your life. The next piece is for you to go in even more micro, if you will, and say, okay, what aspects of my business are incredibly vital? If this piece fails, my business will either no longer exist, or it'll be very difficult for me to continue on, whatever that may look like for you. So the reality, the vitals for a lot of my clients that I work with would be something like our people, so our staff. That is the heart of the business. For others, maybe something different, but we can use that as an example. So if we've identified that that is a vital, it's very important to us for us to exist as a business, then we have to make sure that we are giving that attention that that needs, either as passionately or as consistently as needed. And what I sense from my work with my clients is that, one, they lack the identification of what is truly vital to their business, and then two, they, without understanding what's vital, those things get missed and kind of swept under the rug. Which, at the end of the day, if we look at it from our own body example, if we're not paying attention to our brain, our lungs, our heart, our kidneys, life will become much more difficult. And I don't want that for anyone on this call or any of my clients, or in our lives as well. We have to be paying attention to the vitals, and they're extremely important. But how do we get there? How do you even understand what your vitals are? Well, I would ask yourself, excuse me, these questions. What sub-machines, again, the actionable pieces underneath our machines, which sub-machines, when not going well, have the most negative impact on your life, business, and your energy? So what is the thing that you feel or you notice when things aren't going well? This is usually the cause. Again, I come back to the idea of staffing or people being such a big piece of our reality right now within hospitality, and really is such a backbone of what we're trying to do is the people. Like, we need to have the people, and they need to be happy, and they need to feel appreciated, and all of those things. So that may be true for you as well. The next question would be, what sub-machines must be going well to ensure that everything else is? So identifying, hey, I know if I give attention to, for example, let's just say my social media profiles, I know if I nurture those, I'm creative with those, and I'm consistent with those, it really gives me a great ROI from a business standpoint. So that has to be going well. And you define what that is, what well is for you when it comes to that machine or sub-machine, sorry. But when this isn't going well, the byproduct is manifested in many other aspects of the business. So we have to define what has to be going well. So for me, like, my heart has to be fully functioning, my brain especially. Okay, so then what am I doing actively to ensure that that is the case? The last question you would ask yourself is, what sub-machines, again, are the heart, lungs, and brain of your life and business? What are the vitals? What do you feel, again, in your life as well as in your business? What is crucial to you, not only existing, but thriving and growing? And once we've identified those, then we take the steps to, again, nurture them and make sure that we're serving them at the consistency that we need to, again, which is defined really by yourselves. After that, so we have our machines and our sub-machines defined. After that, we have our vitals. And the last one we have is our high performance targets. This piece is, for me, used often with leaders within a business. So depending on what the org chart in your business is, or what the structure is in your business, whether you are the owner or operator or the head chef, or you have managers, assistant managers, this tool, I find, is really valuable to use with them as well as yourself. So these are the skills, traits, and qualities, or the outcomes that must be consistently mastered in order to dominate whatever it is that you're doing. So how do we define these? Now we've defined the vitals, but how do we define the high performance targets? We do that by asking these questions. We ask, what must you, meaning you right now watching this, or perhaps we're posing this to, again, our leadership group within our business, what must you be incredibly good at in order to dominate or win this role? So if it's a general manager or a head chef, what are the skills and traits that you must be exceptionally well at to be world class at this role? And we have to be able to answer that question. And a lot of us don't know. And that's like going back to my very first slide of I used the image of the map. If if I decide that I want to be X in the industry, which is great, defining that is step one. But if I don't know what it's going to take to get there, whether it's, I need to rent a car, or I need to go on a plane, or I need, whatever the situation is, I have to understand what is it that is going to help me get to X. And again, to use my own experience in working with my clients, a lot of times we are crystal clear on where we want to go, but there's a bit of ignorance or disbelief in what actually has to be done to get us there. So what traits do you need to have within your role to be world class? And the next one would be, in your role, what are the necessary required skills that you must order to dominate, and that you must master in order, pardon me, to dominate and be the best? And I get my clients, and I would ask you guys to do the same as well, to list them out. And I would say, using this as a guide, no less than 5, but no more than 10. And the same, if I can quickly go back to this piece, the org chart, this number that this client has laid out, meaning number of submachines, I think max that they have in one is 6. You really don't want to get any more than that. If you have, say, 10, it probably belongs in some other machine within your life or in your business. I'm quickly going to pause for a second just to see if there's any questions, if everyone's on the same page, or if they feel completely lost by everything right now. No, we're good.
I think we're good. I don't see anything in
Okay.
the chat or any hands up at this point.
Okay, great. Um, so what I'm going to actually do at this point is I'm going to hit pause on me talking. One, because I need to drink water, but two, I want everyone to do me a favor and yourselves a favor. And you can use this, what's on the screen right now, as kind of a guideline. Pick one machine in your life and pick one machine in your business. We'll take 5 minutes to do this, just 5 minutes. Lay out the machine. So that big piece that you feel moves your life or your business forward, or potentially holds it back. And then I want you to break it down into practical, tangible sub machines. And again, we don't want to have more than 10, but we don't want to have less than, say, 5. So looking at this, using this as an example, let's take 5 minutes. It's 10:04, so I'll come back at 10:09. Write down one machine for your life and the submachines, one machine for your business and the submachines, and we'll come back. And if anyone's open to sharing, I'd love to hear them. And if not, at least you've started the process. So I'll be back in 5, and we'll see what you guys come up with. Okay, I'm back a little earlier. Feel free if you are still working through it to work through it. But I would love to, if anyone is open to sharing, um, I would love for you to unmute yourself and just allow us to learn from you what you feel, whether it's in your life or in your business, would be um, a machine and a submachine. And that may also allow for me to help you kind of navigate if you're on the right path or if there's some confusion in regards to how this actually works. So if anyone wants to be that person, awesome. If no one's feeling up for it, that's okay. We can move on as well. It looks like Gordon's working very hard on this, so I'd love to hear what Gordon has, but no pressure. And again, I'll just say if oh, Natasha, go ahead. You unmuted yourself. Sorry, and Gordon as well.
Oh, well, Gordon, I just did one of my personal ones, which I'm sure I put like health.
Yep.
Did you want me to do like the sub things as well?
Yeah, I love. Yeah, I'd love
Oh,
to hear
okay.
them. Yeah.
So like health is like, for my personal, that is like the utmost of importance. I'm always very open and honest. I have an autoimmune disease, so I can't, it just has to be priority. So for me, my sub is it has to be minimum 8 hours of sleep a night, medication management, monthly blood work, regular exercise, and keeping and managing regular visits to my doctor.
Right. So what you'll notice, and that was great, Natasha. Thank you so much for sharing and also
No
being
problem.
so vulnerable to share that piece with you as well, which I'm sure is such a truth for so many people, not only just on this call, but outside of this call as well. You'll notice that what Natasha did, and we can refine it even more, but you notice what she did is these are very actionable pieces. Now, what is difficult to do is if you say, she said a minimum of 8 hours of sleep. A lot of times that necessarily might not be in her control because I know if I can, Natasha has a
Yep.
family and she has other things outside of that aren't necessarily in her control. So if her son decides that she's not going to sleep 8 hours, perhaps it's not in her control. But she could say and she could announce that sleep is a very important aspect of her overall health. So if she's feeling like her health is being compromised, that machine, right? She could look at, okay, like how consistent has my sleep been? Are there things that are happening that aren't allowing for it to be successful, and then perhaps introducing things like maybe she has a nap or maybe she goes to bed at X time, maybe she buys some earplugs, whatever it may be. But this is a great example of how we have to gain clarity on what is true for us, what's important to us, and am I actually in alignment with what I'm saying is really important. So if Natasha says to us, hey guys, like health is of the utmost importance, and she comes into the office and she's talking to Gordon and Bangu and saying like, oh my god, I'm exhausted, and she's saying that every single day, well then she's in conflict of what she's saying is really important. And that's where the tough conversation has to be had. Okay, is this really vital to me, and then how am I showing up for it? And this is true again in business. I just find life is a little bit easier for us to grasp as a first go at this. Does anyone else want to share either a life machine, thank you again Natasha, a life machine,
No
or
problem.
a business machine?
Yeah, sure. I could share one. This is
Great.
Troy from Honeybees down in Yarmouth. So energy is a big part of who I am, whether it be in presentations or in front of my employees. So workouts, I like to do my own personal workouts 3 to 5 times a week. Nutrition, I want to make sure that the majority of my diet is low carbs,
Mm-hmm.
except on those days that I'm really pushing myself.
Mm-hmm.
For sleep, I need at least 6 to 8 hours. Gets me by, that's for sure. Reading to my kids gives me energy because I usually give them positive affirmations and things that will help them in their life going forward. And lastly, exercising with my kids
Mm-hmm.
2 to 4 times a week gives me energy in a different way.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing, Troy, and nice to meet you, or meet you. Again, very specific and actionable things. So for Troy, under that energy, he knows that if he's feeling off at all, and again, guys, this is so applicable to life and business, and I hope that is really landing with us all right now. But we're just talking about Troy and his personal life, but how that's going to affect his business as well. He knows that if he's feeling low on energy, what can he start to do? Well, when's the last time I read to my children? When's the last time I worked out? What has my diet been like today? And that's the exact same with our business. If numbers are down, so our sales are down, we can quickly go, okay, what do I know impacts my sales? What do I know is going to increase, like impact my sales, and go right to those things and start trying them? Okay, well, when is the last time we did a promotion on Facebook? When is the last time we did something in-house? When is the last time we had a staff meeting? All of these things are going to impact that bigger machine and the overall business as well. So just like Troy shared with us, those pieces are, that energy piece is extremely vital to him in his life, or important to him in his life. I don't know if it's vital. It sounded like it was. So if he's feeling off, he can quickly go to that and assess. And that's what this tool is here for. It exists to allow for us to go, okay, things aren't the way I want them to be, right? Okay, so how am I showing up and serving these pieces that I've defined are important? And also, last thing I'll say before I move on here is, this is a, how do I say this? Like a ever changing, ever growing thing. My business now is a lot different than it was 4 years ago, and I'm sure the same is for so many of you, and life as well. Priorities change. So having some empathy for yourself, you may not get this right out of the gate, but at least sitting down and doing this is really going to help you create more structure, more clarity, and in my opinion, far more success. Okay, where were we at? So we were talking about the high performance targets. Excuse me. What things, traits, skills are necessary for you to be X within your, we'll talk business, for example. For you to be a great leader and innovator, what do you need to be doing? We have to know those. And then we have to be asking ourselves and measuring them, okay, how am I showing up within that? So again, asking, what do I need to master my role? As a leader, an owner, head chef, you need to, I say that very, I suggest that you get crystal clear on what it is, what attributes you need to have to be that person in your life and in your business. Before I fully move on, I didn't want to cut anyone else off. If you wanted to share any of your, we talked about a few life machines, but anything in business within your space that you feel you want to share? No? Okay. Thank you again to those that did share, because not always easy to do in a group of potential strangers. The last piece is, and I just want to really make sure we hit this home, is we must seek to gain clarity on what it is that we want, and then we must have a system in place to define the pieces that will add up to help us achieve the goals and visions that we have laid out. So remember, structure breeds clarity, and clarity precedes success. And there's one thing that I didn't put in here that I think I want to share with you all. There isn't a slide, so bear with me here. The current way that we exist in our businesses got us to where we are today. And I think that is a beautiful thing, and we all should be celebrating that in some way, shape, or form. But if you're here today and you've carved out time for this, it is an assumption that I'm making that you're wanting to experience some sort of change or growth within your business. If that is the case, or your life, if that is the case, what I suggest that you do is, through this practice, through this tool, and just generally in your life, is understand fundamentally that you have to be doing things differently. So we have our current way of being today, how I show up, how I prioritize. When I woke up, what was my routine? When I went to bed last night, what was my routine? If we want to achieve something different, if we want to achieve growth, we have to have a new way of being. So my current way of being that has served me to get here is waking up at 6 a.m., right? But I have 2 young kids, and if I want to get some extra work done in the morning, what does that look like? I have to get up a little bit earlier. So if I'm saying, and I've defined that quiet time and deep work is important to me, I have to prioritize that. So we have to have a increased level of awareness of, okay, this is Brad's current way of being, and it's gotten me to here. But if I have goals to go here, I have to understand that I need to define a new way of being. And for some of you, that may be just adopting a tool like this, going, yeah, you know what? Most of my days, I wake up and I just react. That image I showed of that, uh, a bit disastrous bedroom of clothes everywhere and a computer. And sure, that may work for a time, but is that actually allowing for you to achieve what it is that you have either announced in the past or have within your head or your heart that you want to achieve moving forward? So ask yourself, how am I showing up right now? Do I have structure? Do I have the tools to allow for myself to move forward and to experience success? Because it, in my experience in working with my clients, we can't be passive. There has to be some participation in this. And I used the example on the Instagram live that I did with Natasha last week of, and again, I don't judge anyone. I have empathy for all of us, especially in the last 2 years that we've experienced. But we can't have a reality where we show up to our businesses in any industry, but especially in hospitality, where we show up to our businesses, we unlock the door, we turn the lights on, and we say, I wonder what's going to happen today. I wonder what will be my reality. So what's happening there is we're allowing it to happen to us instead of us going, no, I know that because of the webinar I attended, thanks to the Restaurant Association that Brad hosted, I know that I need to have structure, and I've developed that. And I know on Tuesday mornings from 9 to 10, all I'm focusing on is email marketing. And then I give myself a break to go work out for a half an hour. And after that, from 11:30 to 1:30, all I'm doing is working on HR. And that's where the structure piece comes in. That's where the time block piece comes in. And that's where the discipline comes in. And the more disciplined we are, the more disciplined we can be, it is my belief through experience that I've had for myself and also for my clients, the more disciplined we can be, not only will there be success, but also be more freedom as well. And that's what I want for all of us in this space. It's a hasty generalization, so I say it very carefully. Our industry has been one for far too long of reactivity. And there has to be a percentage of that to be true. We have to allow for things like, unfortunately, COVID. Hopefully it never happens again. But weather, staffing, like they're things that we have to be open to just happening. But it's my goal to have my clients and ideally the whole industry become super proactive, asking ourselves, what can we expect? What could go wrong? And setting ourselves up for success. And we do that when we start to adopt more structure. The last thing I'll say before I turn it over to any questions that you may have, I am hosting a online, this is a shameless plug, an online program on May 2nd, and it's called Clients for Life. It's essentially answering a question that a client of mine had a few months back in regards to customers and like, are these people coming back? Are they coming back? And I've developed this program. It's a full day online course. So it will be over Zoom, similar to this. It is 10 to 4 on May 2nd. It is all about the customer experience and customer service in 2022. I'll ask that if I can, I'll email you guys the link if you are interested in it. It's $800 to sign up before April 17th, and it goes up $300 after that. Again, May 2nd, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The theme of it is Clients for Life, and it really is dedicated to the customer experience and customer service, which I think we all, myself included, can benefit from a better understanding of that. That is it formally from me. We do have some time for some questions. If anyone has any, please fire away, or comments.
Brad, it's Gordon. I have a couple of questions. So certainly COVID changed a lot of our lives, and certainly it did for us in the association and for me personally. But I find now, more than ever, what I like to call the interrupter clause, like they're changing the gas prices whenever they feel like it. I just find there's so many things happen in my daily routine that I have zero control on. And I find that it impacts how I'm always trying to plan. Like I've always in my life, I've had two sets of plans: short term, long term. Usually I'm using short term to get to the longer term, but there's a goal out there somewhere. But I find that there's so many interruptions today that impact that. And some of them are personal. For me, I've undergone 2 operations that were not successful, a hip and a knee. So I have mobility issues, so I can't move around like I used to. So that's a big issue for me. And so my health side is taking impact, but it's also on the business side. I find the business side, there is so many interruptions to your pattern that no matter how hard you schedule to allow flexibility or buffers or things like that, I just find that just that interrupter clause just has enormous impact on day to day.
Yeah, I'm empathetic for that, and thank you for sharing. What comes up for me when you share that is the idea of boundaries, and I work on this so much in my personal life as well as my business, is establishing boundaries. And I started sharing this with a lot of my clients because I have one right now that I work with. We meet every Tuesday, and we meet behind a closed door. And this person's a CEO and president of their business, and our first few meetings were consistently being interrupted by staff and other senior leaders coming in to the room and posing questions or seeking some information. And when I felt comfortable enough, I just asked this person, I said, do you have an issue establishing boundaries? And they paused for a moment and said, yes, I do. I don't have any. And we did a little more digging as to why that is. And I can't speak to yours in particular, but the assumption I make when people say things keep coming up, that's true for everyone. But if I have a clear boundary and I say that it's just, I'm only doing this right now. Nothing else is I'm not going to allow for anything else to come into my frame of mind or whatever it is. There has to be that structure and those boundaries. If it isn't, then we'll always be permeable, and sometimes we can't. And I hear what you're saying, and again, and I'm empathetic to mine as well, my situation as well. There's times where I feel compelled to go and do X, or my email dings and I want to get to right away. But we have to have boundaries, and that comes back to the whole structure thing. If we lack structure and we lack boundaries, we're constantly going to be in this reactive state. So while I am empathetic to what you just shared, I would also look at, from a mindset standpoint, how do we feel about these things? Like, what do we actually believe? What do you believe to be true? Do these things that are coming up for you and that perhaps are distracting you from what you are doing, do they have to be done right now? Or is there just a belief that you feel like they do, or can they wait? And if we don't have those boundaries, and again, using my current client as a CEO and president, there's just, when are you going to get X done? And then we're just perpetuating it every single day. We're doing that reactive as the proactive. And again, it's life, it's business. There is a gray area. I'm sensitive to that. But I can't accept that every day I don't have control, because there are certain things that I can control. And what I can control is closing that door and letting my kids and my wife know, hey guys, I need 90 minutes of deep work. And unless it's an emergency or the house is on fire, you don't open that door. And that's where the boundary piece comes in. It's tough for me to say that because I love my kids and I want to see them and they want to play on dad's computer and all of those things. But that's in violation of what I'm saying is important. What's important to me is a deep work session, right? So I have to have that structure, and I have to have those boundaries. But again, having empathy for myself that every once in a while life happens. But I have to make sure that more often than not, I'm in control, not everything else around me. But thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Like I did say, I will share. Oh, sorry, Troy, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say what you said is bang on. A lot of us just don't want to say it, and we don't want to act on it, but we need to really shut that door, and we need to take time out for ourselves. Like you say, things will happen, but if we don't do that, you're on a hamster's wheel, and every day becomes the same, and you get in a rut, and you look for things to take you away from what it is that you should be doing. You know, that becomes a bigger part of your day. oh, I know something's going to come up and you're looking for it, instead of concentrating and focusing on what it is you need to get done. It's a great point, Brad. And thanks for bringing that back up to me, because I find myself getting hauled away from things that I need to do. So it's on my list day after day after day, because I'm trying to do other things. Thank you for saying that.
No, and thank you for sharing. I'll just say again, it's that idea of the current way. So am I just falling back to that way of being, which isn't serving me to get to where so I need to adopt the new way, and the new way is tough, and the new way I don't want to do, because that's comfortable. It's comfortable feeling needed by staff. It's comfortable just answering emails. That's easy for me. That's the busy work. But for me to be a leader in my business, in the community, in my industry, I need to be the Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, of this space. Because when Kobe Bryant was performing, nothing else mattered. Nothing else mattered. But was he a dad? Was he a friend? Did he do all those things? Yes. But when it was time for him to focus on his craft, he was extreme. Michael Jordan as well, other sports examples, business examples as well. Like if we look at certain people in our industry, and I always use Danny Meyer as someone in the hospitality space that I think is so good at setting boundaries, and he would have had to achieve the success that he's achieved, right? There has to be that structure. There has to be structure. Okay, when do I talk to my senior leaders? When do I look at HR? When am I looking at social media? When am I doing my emails? When are we holding staff meetings and going, okay, let's just do those things. Let's do that and do that and do that. And Gordon, your example, and everyone else from a health standpoint in your personal life, okay, I say it's important. I know it's important. When's the last time and when I did that, did I allow for something else to happen? Oh, I'll go for a walk. Oh, I just got an email. I'll do the email first. It can't happen. And like Troy said, it just becomes this hamster wheel. And all of a sudden, I mean, we're already at the first quarter of 2022 coming to an end here this week, right? So another thing that I love to do with my clients is goal setting and looking back at the end of every single month, asking a list of 10 questions. Okay, where are we? Are we closer to our goals? Are we further from our goals? Did we actually do anything to support our goals? I'm here as a resource. I want to say thank you so much to Natasha and Gordon and Bengu and every one of you that attended live today and participated as well. I'll be sending out the formula that you use to build this out. So I encourage you, give it a shot. If it works for you, great. If certain aspects of it you don't think make sense, that's totally fine. But if you have questions, please reach out to either Natasha or the team at RANS, and I'd be more than happy to help you guys out. And if the program in May is something you think would be beneficial to you, I encourage you to get signed up for that as well. I'm super excited to do that. So thank you guys again. If there's no more questions, I'll leave you to your day. Have a fantastic week, and thank you, RANS, again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this morning. So thank you very, very much.
Thanks, guys.
And to everyone else, yes, I'll be sending the links and everything that Brad shares out and making sure everyone gets that. So thank you very much. I hope everyone has a great day.
Yeah.